Opportunity to welcome everybody here this evening. I think this news gathering we've had for quite a while, so it just shows the interest in this election. The format for the evening is 3 minutes for each of the candidates, and then probably about an hour for questions, and then another 3-minute wrap up for the candidates. I'd like to welcome all the candidates. Thank you very much for coming.
Can you speak up? We can't hear you.
It's really hard to hear.
We can't hear you. Turn up.
And we're going to have to deal with that because when we got here, we've got like starting with the school program.
It's not for television. It's not TV.
So to start off this evening, I'm going to start with Andrew, and then at the end of the meeting, we'll start with Richard to wrap up. So, Andrew, I think there's a microphone here. Good. Okay. Andrew, 3 minutes. There will be a 40 notices on the timing. She will give that over to you. Thank you.
Oh, there's your timer.
Good evening. I think we've got the magic microphone here. Oh, that's done. You're all voting for me, please. Let's go over here. Bryce, come on, me and Bryce go way back to state elections, and we're both councillors. I'm on Snowy Monaro Council, and Bryce is on Queanbeyan. I had a good meeting this afternoon with Kenrick. I dropped in and we talked about your local issues, and that gave me more time with your mayor than I've had with my mayor. That's crazy. So I'm moving to Queanbeyan. I've been doing this it was a bidding war. I've been doing this since 2013, and what's really distressing, concerning, worrying is that the same issues that we talked about in 2013 with Mike Kelly's campaign persist. It took forever to get money for gas, to get their water supply sorted. And now we've got to get a pipeline across the hill to Bungendore to get your areas sorted. We've got to work on your sewerage plan, just over in, it's not even in New South Wales, it's in the ACT. So with all this growth and all this development that you're having, you're looking at a circa $200 million investment to upgrade an 80-year-old plant. So what has Christie done in these last years? She carried on from Mike Kelly, who did very little. Now some of you are going to be very strong Labor supporters.
Excuse me, it's about what you're going to do, Andrew, not about what.
Well, I'm not going to beat other councillors up in our council meeting, where the Labor councillors last week tried to beat me up in our council meeting. But we've got to tell the truth to each other about Labor. Labor are becoming desperate. They've become the party of violence. They've become the party of lies. You can shout me down all you like, but it's my microphone for the next minute, and I'll say what I choose. You're not voting for me. That's why you're here.
What are your policies then?
My policies are truth, honesty, accountability, helping you get your pipeline to Bungendore so that you're not on bore water contaminated with PFAS, which is quite outrageous to hear. We want to get the roads squared away. We want Queanbeyan to have mobile service. We want the area to have mobile service. 2 minutes 38. Cool. So, I'm happy to have a little bit of argy-bargy. I'm happy to see the rivalry between the blue and the red. It's quite outrageous to see 12 blues and 10 reds at the pre-poll this afternoon, but I'll tell you, you're scaring the voters away from voting. It is intimidating for a voter to walk through the wall of red and blue. They're all voting for us independents. We're not the crazy ones. Have a look in the mirror, please.
G'day, my name's Wade Cox. I represent the Queanbeyan Ratepayers Party. What's my connection with Eden Monaro? I live in Yass. I've lived in Yass for 20 years. I've lived in Eden Monaro for 47. I've lived in Eden Monaro for 47 years. I got out of... Yeah, can't you? Can you hear me now? Yes. Anyway, as a young fella, I joined the army and I went to the Officer Cadet School, graduated there, and I became a major in the army. I was seriously wounded in Vietnam and I'm now a military pensioner. That's in the past, and I'm still living with it, and I'm on a military pension. So what we're doing is that we are now trying to break this nexus of the Labor and Liberal groups who are controlling the system, and the globalists who take us over. And they are controlling our parliaments and our systems. We have very few chances. We've had our Defence Department reduced to a very poor state. Our war reserves are non-existent. We need to get our military industrial capacity back. We need to sort out this country. We need to sort out our politicians. We need to get our manufacturing. Our cost of living is through the roof. Our power grid has been deliberately destroyed by these idiots who are claiming that global warming is man-made, caused by coal, and it's a lie. Global warming is a cyclical thing. It lasts for 1100 years. It comes in, and the last one, the medieval warm period, came in the 10th century, and then it lasted 550 years through 50 solar cycles, and then went into the modern ice age. In the modern ice age, in 1450, our whole system, the sea levels dropped 10 feet. From Ephesus, they had to build a new port at Kusadasi. That's 1450. We had this problem all through the world. The Pacific Islands came out of the seas, and they're going to go back in the seas very soon. This next global warming will occur in the next 5 years. And when that happens, you'll see the 5 metres, you'll see the sea levels will rise at least 10 metres and maybe as much as 60, because there are 70 metres on the Arctic cap. But ask me questions about that, defence, and the cost of living and the rest of the things, and I'll try and answer your questions.
Good day, Fraser Buchanan is my name. I'm from Marembula. I'm standing on behalf of the Heart Party. The Heart Party stands for Health, Environment, Accountability, Rights and Transparency. Those very things that are essential in a proper democratic society, in a society that we believe we live in. We need to keep our rights. Our rights have been taken away over the last 20 years. Basically since 9/11 we've had a reduction in rights. There's been an incremental taking away of our human rights, our rights of freedom of speech, our rights. Whistleblower laws have come in where whistleblowers are actually put in jail, not those who are actually breaking the law, but the whistleblowers themselves. We have laws coming in to censor people's censorship, censoring people's ability to express themselves, inability to have bodily autonomy. They're force vaccinating people, causing people to have vaccines which have harmed people. It's been a devastating situation, but the reality is that there, as Wade has alluded, there is a global agenda happening, and this is all part of it. This is part of enslaving the people, bringing in this digital surveillance system, digital ID, cameras everywhere, surveilling everything you do, bringing in a central banking digital currency. Our governments are working in lockstep with all the other governments throughout the world. There's only a handful of them that are pushing back on this, and it's an agenda that's being driven by globalists who are running the show, who dictate policy to our red and blue teams. Our red and blue teams, they fight on peripheral issues, peripheral stuff, not stuff of substance that is affecting our world. We have $1 trillion debt in our country. In 1985, we had an $8 billion debt. Now we have $1 trillion debt that is being handed to our kids. This is not good. We are a resource-rich country. We're not making the revenue out of the resources that we should be. Everybody should be living in affluence. The cost of electricity, the cost of is out of control, and the people who suffer are the poor people, the people who've got least, not the wealthy. The wealthy are living a high life. They have no reality on this stuff. But there is a big picture at play, and it's happening. And if we don't stop it, if we don't stand up and push back for our sovereignty, we have the World Health Organization who have just put amendments to their international health regulations and also a treaty, and they want to be able to take control of our health and control, vaccinate us, all this sort of rubbish. Our kids are getting 52 shots of vaccines in a childhood schedule, and we have 60% chronic illness in Australia, 60% chronic illness in Australia, the highest cancer rate in the world. Time, thank you.
I'm sure you know me because you've seen my bus, my gazillion lawsuits that people keep running over and stealing. But for those of you who don't know me, Jo Vanderplat, I'm the Liberal candidate. When I'm not being a candidate, I'm a full-time lawyer. I live in Cooma. I've been married to a Cooma builder for almost 30 years. We have two beautiful children, one of whom is helping out on pre-poll leading up to the election. So why did I stand? I'm standing because my husband will tell you I can't really not say a lot of the time, but I've never been one that's sort of been able to stand on the sidelines and have a whinge. I like to be able to get in and be part of the solution. I think we all know what the issues are, but the difficult part is being able to work out how you fix some of those problems. That's something that I do every day for a living. I love people. I wouldn't be a lawyer if I wasn't. I love seeing people and I love creating solutions for them that work for them and make them happy. So that's one of my biggest drivers. I think the other biggest driver for me is that I feel like, and I know that I think the public has lost trust in governments, and that's governments of all persuasions. And I might only be one person, but if I can somehow try and be part of that rebuilding of trust, when we get in and we say, we're here because you put me here and I'm working for you. So that's kind of the discipline that I have used in the last 12 months as a candidate. I think you can take from the fact that I've travelled about 110,000 kilometres since I've been a candidate to listen to you. That is the job. And when you're elected, that is your job. So I think that's been the best part of the role so far, is being able to go to each of the corners of Monaro. We know it's a huge electorate, to listen to people, and whilst there might be sort of those three broad issues that cover the whole electorate in terms of cost of living, skilled staff shortages and housing, each particular area has their own little niche issues. So health is a huge one, housing affordability is a huge one, small business. I'm a small business owner, so is my husband. I'm very invested in making sure that we have good talent pipelines so we can have small businesses thrive in places like Queanbeyan. So what you see from me is what you get. I'm really looking forward to taking your questions tonight. Thank you.
Hello, I'm I've had the honour and privilege of representing this electorate now for 5 years. I got involved in politics because there'd been an issue with the local playground when I was on maternity leave. I had a 2-year-old and a 3-month-old, and at the time I wondered how they'd made that decision. And my parents had always raised me with the motto of put up or shut up. So I thought I'd have a crack at local council. 4 years later I got elected as mayor, and in that time we had 9 declared natural disasters. And I'd spent countless hours talking to politicians in Canberra and Sydney about disaster response and recovery and the way that we could do things better. And then I was asked to run in Monaro. And I was originally going to say no, but my husband said, what would your parents say? And so I thought, I'll have a crack. So I've been now the member for 5 years, and over that term I have worked with people of all political persuasions across 3 levels of government to deliver outcomes for our local community, including $1.75 million for respite for Queanbeyan, a much needed respite centre in the community. A Medicare urgent care clinic in town, and over the last 8 months that's seen 7,000 presentations and taken significant pressure off the emergency services department at Queanbeyan Hospital. We've delivered a Medicare mental health hub right here in Queanbeyan because there isn't a cross-border agreement for mental health. We've delivered significant upgrades to Free Body Oval and Seaford Oval for female change rooms. The difference, I guess, with me is that I am prepared to work with anyone to get outcomes. I've done that in opposition, and I convinced then the Deputy Prime Minister to fund a $50 million water storage dam in Queanbeyan, one of the driest parts of our electorate. And at the time he said it doesn't fit the criteria because it's not an irrigation dam. And I said to him, in our communities, irrigation and town water supply are the same thing, you need to fund it, and I got that $50 million. So I am someone that is prepared to work with everyone across our community. There are some big issues across our communities, whether that be health or housing. People right across our communities know I'm working to help get things done, including delivering $17 million for a water treatment plant in Yass, something that's been talked about for decades and has never been done. We know that there is a critical housing shortage, and you have to fund enabling infrastructure to get more housing in our communities, and we've done that by funding a $27 million sewage treatment plant in Marulan. There is more work to do, but what you need is calm, considered decision making and people that don't shoot from the hip. So I'm here to say I can work with everyone to get things done, and I'm prepared to do that across the levels of government.
Good evening, I'm Peter Hager from the Greens, representing Emma Gowie. Emma sent me a letter to read out. I know the panel have already heard this before, but for the rest of you, it's written in the first person. So, hi everyone, I'm Emma Gowie, your Greens candidate. I'm really sorry I couldn't be here tonight. A deeply personal family matter has come up and I've needed to be with my loved ones. I appreciate your understanding and I leave you in the very capable hands of Peter Hager, Greens Councillor for the Bigger Valley Shire Council. I grew up in a dairy farming family in the Bigger Valley, where my family has farmed for generations, experiencing fires, floods, droughts, and extreme weather firsthand has made clear that this is a climate emergency, and we need strong, practical leadership to respond. It has shaped my commitment to tackling the climate crisis and protecting our environment and land. not just for the environment, but for our communities, our farmers, and future generations. I'm running because I believe regional communities deserve more than business as usual politics. I want to help shift the perception of the Greens in regional communities. We're not anti-development, we're for smart, sustainable development, and we're deeply committed to stronger, more resilient communities. I'm especially passionate about bringing more diverse, everyday voices into Parliament: young people, working class people, First Nations people, LGBTQIA+ people, those who are often spoken about but not spoken with. Our Parliament should reflect the people they represent. I'm not a career politician or a lawyer. I'm a hospitality worker who is passionate about passionate about community-led change, protecting our native forests, ensuring affordable housing, supporting the rights of LGBTQIA+ people and young people, and investing in public services like health, education and transport. I believe in building a future that puts people and planet first, and making sure regional voices are heard. If you have any questions, please pass them on to Pete. I'll be happy to answer your questions, who's kindly representing me tonight, and I'll make sure to get back to you personally as soon as I can. Thank you for being here and being part of the change, and I look forward to speaking with you soon.
Hi, it's good being here at Queanbeyan at the top pub. My name is Richard Graham, and I'm the One Nation candidate for Monaro. It wasn't until about 4 weeks ago that I made that decision. Up until that, I managed to get through my entire 72 years. I managed to get through my entire 72 years of living without ever being a party member of any party here or back in the States. But the last 5 years has been quite traumatic on Australian society. I've seen it through my businesses, I've seen it through the employees, I've seen it through the people who rent my houses. That from 2020 to now, the cost of living, the deterioration of respect for us as citizens, treating us as though we are people to be subjects, just didn't agree with me very well. And so when I decided that I had to do something, I just couldn't do nothing. I said, well, where is that change going to come from? And it wasn't going to come from the two parties who have been in power during those 5 years. And then I said, well, where else do I go? And I kind of cringed, and I said, well, there's Pauline, and everybody has a bit of a cringe about Pauline because she's rough and tough and frank. And so I said, well, let me look at the policies. And so I started looking at the policies, and what I found in the policies was humanity. I found respect. I found dignity for seniors. I found common sense and logic in the way that they talk about taxation. And instead of taking taxation off of you and giving you back some trinkets in the form of a cake line or something, you just don't take the money in the first place. And this was fundamentally different. And I said, putting aside the red hair and the tough Queensland voice, there's something going on with One Nation. And I've been talking to a lot of people, and there is something going on with people about the last 5 years. And they really are not willing to give a chance to the same two parties who created the last 5 years for us, who locked us up, who told us that we couldn't be employed unless we took an experimental injection. So these are the key things that, aside from the very practical policies of cutting the excise on drink in venues like this, so that the venues can be more part of the community and afford to provide better services, removing the excise on fuel petrol, taking it down by half permanently for 26 cents, not just for 1 year, and allowing split incomes for families who have children, so that their tax rate that they don't pay stays at home. They say that well, but that's not it. Thank you very much.
Thank you to all the candidates. Question time, and I will ask the question or you can ask an individual candidate. Candidates, I would ask that your response be succinct without any sort of long preambles or anything like that, that you answer the question asked with no comments about other candidates. So on that note, questions? Okay, young gentleman with the white jumper. Please, sir.
Hi everyone, thanks for taking the time. I'd like to ask a question about Queanbeyan. One of the issues that really concerns me is cross-border health issues. The Canberra Hospital is critical to all of us for all kinds of specialist services. The ACT Health Minister has come out and said she's going to deny health services, the Labor Health Minister, to people living in Queanbeyan, in Goulburn, in Cooma, down the coast. That's dermatology, gastroenterology, services that so many people rely on. What are you going to do to fix this cross-border issue? Thank you very much. Good question. To all the candidates, yes, thank you.
Yeah, I'm happy to take that. As I said, health is fast becoming, after cost of living, the number one issue that people talk to me about. Obviously, not here, but down the coast, we're in crisis. I think, for me, the biggest issue is making sure that Monaro has enough doctors to service all the complex needs that people have here. But I know living in Cooma, if something serious happens, you are shipped off to Canberra. We need to make sure that we've got really, really good relations with the ACT to make sure that people that do need to access that level 5 care have it. I suspect it's a bit of a, hey, we want some more money out of you, New South Wales, to be able to access services in the ACT. I did nursing as my first degree. I have a really good health background. It's something that I'm very passionate about, I'm quite knowledgeable about, and I'm good with creating solutions. So I'd be working with the ACT government as best as I can. Obviously getting out and making sure that I'm speaking to as many stakeholders as I can to make sure that every single person here, whether they're here or they're down the coast in Cooma, gets the access that they deserve.
Yes, I think that's an atrocious outcome, what's been proposed. I come from Maroondah and we rely heavily upon services in Canberra for health as well, and the whole of our region does, the whole of our electorate does, and it's atrocious to think that they should be pushing people out, particularly those who are living nearby, and yeah, I do not support it, and I will do everything to stop that from happening. Thank you.
I agree with Fraser. You can only do what your government will let you do. The ACT can only do what the government lets it. And if I would become elected to even Monaro, I will stop that nonsense. And if Queanbeyan will get its proper hospital facility, then they won't be allowed to be reduced.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to answer Joanne's question. Let's be honest. Who here is voting for Joanne? 3/4 of the room. Who here is voting for Christy? The other quarter of the room. Are you actually really interested in what I've got to say? Or what we've got to say? You're not. Let's be honest. So I'll tell you a true story. My wife and I, we had twins. We were not allowed to have them at Cooma. We got sent to Canberra. It's a very common thing. Federal governments fund most of health. So the money that is spent in Canberra is also going to be spent in Cooma, but it comes down to where the resources can be deployed. We've only just made some more nurse accommodation in Cooma. We've waited a very long time for that. We couldn't get them because there was nowhere for them to live because Snowy Hydro took up all available accommodation. I could talk about all this all night. The problem is the red and the blue. You keep voting red and blue. That's why you have these problems. You need an independent to be able to say, we need better cross-border acknowledgement so that Bega, Batemans Bay, Cooma, Canberra, Queanbeyan, they all work together and you can either have the locums going out or the money is balanced across the border. It's not a simple question of an us and them. It's our money, it's our country, we just happen to have some weird borders in the middle of our electorate.
Thanks, Andrew. Public health and public hospital funding is critical, and it's nice to see back in Queanbeyan. We have got the largest ever commitment to public health, $33 billion in the last budget alone. Public health is incredibly important, and if we want to keep our hospitals having access to services, then we have to fund Medicare. We cannot cut funding to public health. That's why there is the largest spend for public health now under a Labor government. It's really important that you do have good working relationships. So during the during the COVID lockdown period, one of the reasons that the ACT in southeast New South Wales ended up being in a bubble was because we were able to put forward an argument that so many of our community relied on health services in the ACT, and that border bubble was granted. We have to continue to work together, and that means making sure that we've got more resources to our public health, more resources to our hospitals, making sure that we're training more GPs and specialists in the country, which is why we've made a $668 million commitment for more Commonwealth-supported places for doctors, more scholarships for nurses and midwives, more scholarships for those medical students to then take on the GP specialisation. If we want better services, then you have to fund public health properly.
Every time I'm in a campaign, I hear sort of talk about a certain path of a certain oncology ward or a certain this or a certain that. This is right. If we want decent health, you've got to have a proper publicly funded health system. So the Greens have got policies to push Labor a bit further, to make them so we have properly funded public health systems. And a public health system employs public servants. So you don't run a proper public health system by cutting public servants.
I've got a question. Sorry, please don't want to go. You said it. Here we go, Brian. Hey!
Excuse me, there's a people up there standing before you. There's a hand up down there. Down the back there.
Thank you. I'm now the director to Joe and others want to comment. Joe, in Hobart today, the opposition leader, Mr. Dutton, said that he will cut 41,000 public service jobs in Canberra if he's elected. That's nearly 2/3 of the public service jobs in the national capital. David Crowell, statement at the National Press Club at lunchtime today, so obviously Mr. Dutton can't have misheard the question. Apart from being a backflip, how will this impact on the tens of thousands of public servants and their families who live on this side of the border in Eden Europe?
Thank you. Thanks for the question. It's a question I'm asked a lot. We've been really clear. I want to make 2 points. The number that you're talking about, no person that is currently working will lose their job. We have said that we're going to reduce numbers by freezing, so we're not hiring freeze, natural attrition. Now, I can tell you, and I've been asked about this a lot, there are a lot of my friends that live in Cooma that work in the public service, and when that announcement was first made, I would have to have been the first person on the phone to say, mate, not on, you need to have a good think about this. I don't think there was a day that went past where I didn't ring and say, I think you need to think about a couple of issues. There are people that live, say, in Cooma or in Queanbeyan or in Bungendore that have the flexibility of working from home. That means that they're spending money in my town or in Bungendore or Queanbeyan, wherever it might be. They have the flexibility to obviously go up and see their kid at a school assembly. We've been very clear about this. No one, and can I say as a lawyer, and Christy would know this, the government cannot interrupt any contract between an employer and employee. Those arrangements are in place until 2027, and furthermore we've said that we're going to enshrine them. So I just want to make it really clear. He made a mistake when he apologised, and we've said that what is going to happen moving forward is no one that has their job is going to lose it, but what will happen is we're not going to increase numbers. We're going to do this through a freeze, through natural attrition. Thank you for the question.
Voluntary redundancy. Absolutely.
That's voluntary, as you just said.
I come from a tradie family. I'm a grandfather. I've got 4 kids that are tradies, and this question's for Joe. Tradies, what will make or break tradies is the ute tax and the fuel rebate, 25 cents. And what my question is, can Liberal guarantee they will not be imposing a tax on utes, and will they guarantee the 25 cents rebate on the fuel? This is what will make or break tradies with the cost of living currently.
But I do have a view about that. I'm married to a tradie. I think that one thing I think is missing is more tradies. We have a housing crisis, so I'm really pleased that we've got policies in place to build that pipeline. But just to your immediate questions about the fuel excise, we've said that we will cut that by 25 cents a litre for 12 months. I think that's sensible. What we're trying to do is provide some immediate relief while we take a look under the bonnet to see whether we can do some medium and long-term planning. And I think governments of all persuasions over the years haven't been fantastic with long-term planning, and that's another reason I put my hand up. I think sometimes we're beholden to that 3-year political cycle, and I'd like us to see us tackling some of the really big issues. So the fuel excise for 12 months. We've said we'll review it at the end of 12 months and see how we're going. I mean, obviously we've got a lot of debt and some other issues that are really important to people to work on. With the ute tax, we've said we're keeping the framework. I think it's important for us to try and make sure that we're delivering cleaner cars, but we don't think that a penalty or a penalty tax on car manufacturers or car yards is the way to go. And I know, I've said this before, in my neck of the woods, lots of people need to have a four-wheel drive. I live where it snows a lot. I need a four-wheel drive to get out and to have taken my kids to school. So it's not just tradies, it's lots of different people that need those. We just don't think that penalties are the way to improve the situation. I know that a lot of car yards around here are family owned, and they've just said, look, we stock certain cars that just, we're going to have to pass this cost on to consumers, and it's not something that we want to do, but if we don't, we go out of business. So I think it's a really good idea that we've kept the framework, but we're going to remove the penalty around it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just the latest scare campaign. There is no such thing as a new tax. It's a vehicle emission framework. And you just can't defeat that vehicle emissions framework.
Let's give everybody a chance to speak.
There is no such thing as a U-tax. Nowhere in the world has it raised the price of cars anywhere. Every other country except for Australia and Russia have a vehicle's emissions standard, and in no other country in the world has it raised the price of cars. So that's just one simple fact. When we come to fuel excise, there's some interesting quotes. Peter Dutton, 29th of October 2023. There can be temporary relief through a reduction of excise. It's costly and it can be gained by the oil giants. Angus Taylor, 5th of December 2023. It might sound good, but it's not actually solving inflation, and you'll see price rises elsewhere as a result. Senator Jane Hughes, 7 November 2023, putting subsidies, whether it's on fuel prices, can in fact fuel the inflationary fire rather than temper it. On the 26th of October 2023, she said there's two problems with it. One is it could all be eaten up with global volatility in a moment. Some people might not actually feel that in their hip pocket. And Barnaby Joyce said, 23 January 2022, it won't deal with inflation, but what it will do is take money away from what we spend on roads. Truck drivers are locked into long-term contracts for freight, and they will not receive their full freight subsidy when you take away fuel excise. So what we'll actually do is make sure that our truckies and our freight providers lose money when you cut fuel excise. We've just delivered a doubling of roads to recovery to every council across the country. In Queanbeyan Ratepayers, that's an extra $5.6 million over the next funding period, bringing their total roads to recovery fund to over $13 million. So are we going to be cutting roads to recovery funding for every local council? Are we going to be cutting the road black spot funds? Are we going to be cutting road safety funds? This is what we're talking about when we talk about fuel excise. Most of it goes to road maintenance and road funding across the country. It is a big problem to do something for a short period of time that is going to have a significant impact on our freight and our truck drivers.
Just a quick one on the utes. There's a few tradies in the Bega Valley who started driving BYDs, hybrid utes, 80 to 100 k's plug-in
The cost of fuel in Australia is out of control. It's ridiculous. The government is taking 60 cents of every dollar off us, and it's all on this. They're blaming carbon. There's a carbon push to reduce carbon emission cars. That is a whole crock of coswallop. And if we taxed, if we got proper money for our resources, our gas that's being exported, and if we got proper returns on our resources that are being exported, our coal, our iron ore, we could take that load off the people. But the government are hauling the money out of the people, and they keep hauling it. Now they want to hit the tradies, hit their utes, hit all of these diesel cars, and force us to be driving electric cars, which we don't have a base load power to support. The whole thing's a crock. So if you want to go with that, stick with the same old, but if you want change, if you want to live in a real world and get the people who are suffering off the floor and help them, we need to get base load power back, we need to get coal happening, we need to get gas happening. Renewables can happen incrementally, but not at the cost of the poor people, which is what's happening. The rich people don't suffer, it's all the poor. So it's up to you guys. If you're wealthy enough to absorb it, go ahead, make my vote.
Okay, so who's next? Yeah.
The problem with all of your problems with global warming and then taxing vehicles, cutting businesses, making fuel excise so that they can get more income so they can hire other people to do nothing. This country is in a serious condition, and the whole aspect of trying to tax everybody out of business, tax the tradies, tax used fuel so everyone can't transport goods and have got great problems in getting to work with all these taxes adding to their cost of living. Everything is increasing because these politicians on both sides of the house are costing us enough money so that they can do nothing and we have to pay for the lot, and it's got to be stopped. And the only way you're going to stop is to get rid of these parties, these globalists, because their system is dictated to from Davos and the WEF. They just fired Schwab, but it wasn't enough. They should have got rid of a lot of them. But your guys, you traders, have got a problem because they're trying to put their hands in your pockets on day by day, and all of it. And the workers are paying for it, and that's not good enough.
Thanks for the question. I just wanted to point out a couple of policies from the nation that will enable tradies at the same time as helping housing crisis. The major policy is taking the GST off of building materials. So the building material cost in a house, I'm told, is roughly around $600,000. Okay there? Yeah. Closer? So that's going to reduce the cost of a house by about $60,000. That's going to mean more work for tradies. We absolutely are committed. It's a core policy to the 26% fuel reduction per liter, and that is ongoing. We're going to make up those cuts through cutting waste out of government, cutting the redundancies between the federal departments and the state departments, and that's going to be good for tradies, so it's going to be good for people who need accommodation.
Good evening, everyone. My name's Ellen. I am a serving member in the Royal Australian Navy. I'm going to talk about something that's close to my heart, and the barriers that we have in Australia to get these done. When you talk about cost of living crisis and housing, what's it called, prices, why am I finding it very hard to put a tiny home on the little block of land that I bought in Western New South Wales that I can move my family to and live a free life? Okay, I scraped the money together to buy this block and I can't get a tiny home on this property. Okay? And the other thing, keep your hands off my superannuation.
It's a planning issue, but it's state and local government.
It needs to come from federal level though. It needs to be driven down. There's no way they're going to change their tune in the councils unless it comes from above.
Look, absolutely, that is outrageous. And here we are with the cost of living crisis, unable to home people. We have homeless people all over the place, and we have this ridiculous restrictions in disabling people from being able to put tiny homes or granny flats, all that sort of stuff. There's a lot of solutions to affordable housing, and they're not really being looked at. But behind all this is an agenda. It's called Agenda 2030. And Agenda 2030 is a globalist agenda, and it's about funneling people out of rural areas, funneling them into the centres, right, to create urban intense developments. Smart cities. Have you heard of smart city stuff? Well, there's 6 smart cities earmarked. Goulburn is one of them. So that's why they're not allowing people on rural lots. There's a lot of rural people out there who'd love to be able to put an extra dwelling or something on their property to help this situation, but they're being hamstrung. They're being hamstrung because the councils and the state government have signed up to this Agenda 2030.
I'll just make thank you for your service. We've talked a lot of defence today. I'm looking forward to attending some of the local services tomorrow. It is a state issue, but I do agree with you. I know about 20 years ago, I bought a block of land and we hadn't quite decided what we wanted to do with it, and 12 months after we bought it, we were told that we had to have 250 acres to be able to build, and we had 100. And I'm like, great, so that just means my block of land is now worth nothing because I can't build a house on it. We fought really hard and made sure there were obviously proper transition periods, provisions in there, and we were able to build something. But I do know that these decisions are often made by people that don't understand what is going on in the regions. For example, in my area, you need 250 acres to build, but crazily enough, you only need 40 in Queanbeyan. So who was thinking about that with their holiday house and what they want to do down there? So I do think it is a state issue, but what we can do is make sure that we're working in conjunction. I think local governments really need to be stepping up to the plate when they know that they've got issues around supply, to look at stuff that's outside the box and say, hey, if I've got an LEP that's in place and it's been there for 20 years, it's not fit for purpose anymore. We can talk about things that might have been great in 2007, but they're not great in 2025, and we need to make sure that we're addressing the issues right now.
We've had 20 years of housing policy from federal governments to keep driving up house prices. Every first-time home buyers grant pushes house prices higher and higher. We keep doing the same thing. The Greens have got a plan to increase public and affordable housing by having a public.
I don't want to be in the city though. I want to be out country.
Yeah. So I'm on Bega Valley Council, and we're dealing with that sort of stuff all the time. It is a state issue. So when you're talking about putting tiny houses on land, that is something we need to work through, and councils are working through with state governments to fix that, but it is too slow.
Bega is the worst one in New South Wales.
Sorry?
Bega is the worst council in New South Wales.
I would just say you deserve to have your tiny house. You deserve to have your tiny house. Absolutely. QPRC had a seminar last week about tiny houses, and they supported the idea of tiny houses for short-term use. So you might be well on your way to seeing something change there in terms of tiny houses for full-time use.
If I decide to live in it my whole life, that shouldn't be an issue.
No. And even though this issue particularly is a state and local issue, I think it's the whole red tape and green tape issue of local government and state government needs to be examined from the top. And while there may not be direct authority, the power of the purse is there. And I think we can use that power of the purse to have rethinking occur at the state and local level. Issues just like the one that you raised, that's tiny houses.
Hello, my question is to the smaller parties and the independents, because I know the answers from the Liberal Party and the Labor Party. My concern is that 60% of Australians have chronic disease. When I was a child, I never knew anyone with Hashimoto's disease, with fibromyalgia, and now I know a lot of people with these conditions. The answer for the Labor and the Liberal is to build more hospitals and get more doctors. I want to ask the independents, I want to know what's causing it. What is causing the ever-rising rates of chronic disease, of mental health, and of autism and childhood behavioural and neurological disorders? When I was at school, this was not an issue. It's an issue today. And by building more hospitals, we're not finding the answer to the question. So I want to find out from the independents and from the smaller parties what they would do to help stop this epidemic.
Well, we at the Heart Party, on top of this issue, we believe that one of the fundamental flaws in what's going on here, 60% chronic illness, a blowout in autism, major blowout in all these diseases, cancer. It's the foods that we're eating, processed foods, chemicalised foods, glyphosate, all the chemicals that are used are poisoning us. And on top of that, we have this incredible vaccine schedule for children. 52 doses of vaccines for children, and it's growing. And that is the root cause. So until we deal with that and go back to natural, organic or biodynamic or even just wholesome good food, non-chemicalised, non-GMO modified foods and natural health, non-pharmaceuticals, get rid of the pharmaceutical industry or not get rid of it, but scale it back and allow natural medicine to come to the fore. Barbara O'Neill is the wife of Michael O'Neill, the founder of our party. She is the most famous natural health practitioner in the world, and she is inundated every day with thousands of people wanting to get on this bandwagon because natural health is the way to go. Getting rid of this pharmaceutical-driven agenda. Vaccines, toxic vaccines. Look what's happened to us with this COVID thing. Everyone knows people have been hurt with this vaccine. In Canada, they just recently released a report that revealed that over 12.5% of people had chronic vaccine injuries, right? So it needs to be stopped. Yeah, it's all right, mate. You don't agree with me, that's fine. But anyway, that's my position. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The real problem is that we have been poisoned deliberately by the globalist system. And it's been done in 2003. There were a whole series of viruses copyrighted on the world system. And they were organised and structured so that they could issue these poisons in mRNA vaccines. I wrote a paper about it then in 2003, and it's gone on. This week, the President of Slovenia has just produced an entire position statement of the Slovenian government. The mRNA vaccines are poison. They are destroying our health, they're causing cancers, they are causing, in addition to cancers, they're causing AIDS in our people. You think that's funny? Then I suggest you get off your backside and do some study. Now listen, this is turning into a political rabble where you Liberals and you Labor Party are not interested in what the truth is. And it's not good enough.
If only you stood up here and looked at yourselves, you would actually see you've been incredibly disrespectful to Sue, the two Sues. I want to tell you straight, you are being incredibly disrespectful to the opportunity for the few people that might have come to genuinely hear from everybody. It's all well and good to wear your blue t-shirts and your red t-shirts, but don't be assholes to everybody else, please. Now, who thinks I'm going to say vaccines? I'm going to say sugar. Sugar and caffeine. My kids don't have soft drink. Every now and again they get one. But when I was a kid, we didn't really get soft drinks or lollies either. And you might think, oh, but he's missing his tooth. I think my experience, a father of 5, my kids are very healthy and they don't have high sugar diets. You need to look carefully at what your kids are accessing at schools through their tuck shops, their canteens. We need to think very carefully about the high starch, the high processed foods. Gut health, brain health, incredibly linked. The amount of processed food and additives in our processed food, coupled with high vaccine agendas, high stress lifestyles, and all the other elements that we have, they are what I believe contribute to a progressively unhealthy population. And if you open your eyes and look and accept that we could be a lot healthier than we are, it starts with each individual. And as parents, you must start with your children. Learning how to cook, respecting what food is versus something that takes away your hunger, and what grows in the garden. We've lost all of that, but we should go back.
Chronic disease, reduced child mortality, extended life expectancy, improved diagnosis, poor diet, yes, and lack of activity. So they're the sort of things we need to work on.
Tony, thank you. It's not an easy question. It's very broad. There's so much that's happened over the last 50 years. It's changed our lifestyle, not just food and injections, but electricity, computer screens, just stress. It's a multifaceted thing that we have to deal with. But maybe we're going to get a bit of a free cake from the new HIH director, Mary, for opportunity and some of the things that he's going to explore. I will say, though, that from a policy standpoint, One Nation, we're committed to establishing a Royal Commission to look into the COVID era and determine what happened there from a public policy standpoint, so that there's clear transparency for the people that have lived through that. Simultaneously, one of our core policies is to have a referendum to enshrine in the Constitution what we presume was our rights: freedom of speech, freedom of association, and freedom of movement. And this is a core that we have there. And we're seeing the need for that all the more from the recent laws in Victoria and the attempted laws here in New South Wales and even at the federal level to have pure thing. So no disinformation, no misinformation, no malinformation, which is otherwise just called information. So we're committed to that. And if you're committed to a democracy which has an underlying basis of freedom, One Nation is your party.
Afternoon everyone, my name's Chris. I'm a mighty resident of the Monaro for all 21 years of my life. Now, my question is to Joe. This is a very simple yes or no question. On ABC Canberra on Tuesday, you confirmed that if Peter Dutton asked, you would support a nuclear reactor in the Monaro, not ruling out any location at all. My simple yes or no question: will you commit, if you are the next member for Monaro, and the next
got to check if the holes,
that all parts will be manufactured in Australia?
Just for sound?
Yep, sound holes. That's all right. Still running.
What was the question? We'll
Here we go. He wants to know.
Thank you. Sorry, I'm having a little bit of trouble hearing up here, but the 7 sites that we've located, we've also said that the first 2 years will be a consultation period, and I think that's really, really important to make sure we're getting that right. Sorry. Is that better? Sorry. We've already committed to the 7 locations. I don't know if you heard. So the first 2 years, if we're elected, we will be consulting, and that will be part of that consultation period. Thanks for the question.
We can't hear you.
No, I can't answer that because the consultation period, that is what a consultation period is for.
Question coming back, hands up there.
Just yell.
We're due to go at 9 o'clock.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for your time. My question is to Joe in relation to your opening comments about the skills shortage. We're all aware there is a skills shortage in Australia, but I'm just conscious of the Leader of the Opposition not believing in fee-free TAFE, and also the Shadow Minister for Skills coming out saying last week that they will abolish fee-free TAFE. So Joe, you understand that there is a skills shortage. What would you do if a Liberal government is elected? Thank you.
Yeah, sorry. We've only got one mic. But, I agree. And as I said, my husband struggled over the years to get tradies. There's 2 really great policies that we have in place. We fully believe that we need to be trying to incentivise employers to take on tradies because I think they've lost a little bit of faith in the process. So we'll have a policy where we'll provide them with a $12,000 incentive to take on tradies, because we do know, obviously when we all start out in life, it takes a bit of time before you actually can earn your boss a few bucks. So there is some lost productivity time in those first couple of years, so that's what that will help for. We'll also have the Apprentice Accelerator Program, which will provide the apprentices between 5 and 10 grand to help them through and help them have a bit of a get along for their first couple of years as well. The fee-free TAFE issue, I think my general proposition always is that nothing is free, and taxpayers do have to pay for this. We obviously acknowledge and want to try and give, as I've just said, employers and tradies the best start they can, which is why we provided for those incentives. But thank you for the question.
With regards to the skills shortage, we have a couple of policies that tackle it from a couple of different directions. Firstly, we have a tremendous amount of people who are not allowed to work, who have great skills that have been developed over decades, and that's our retirees. And the retirees are not able to work because if they work longer than, say, 8 hours, their pension gets docked. And so one of our core policies is that the whole document of pensions for retirees who want to work and also have the dignity that comes from working in a highly inflationary environment so they can buy better food and presents for the grandchildren. That's a core policy for us that benefits both the retirees and then also allows for workforces, receptionists to come into the doctor's office, people that will work in all sorts of businesses. So those are core policies from One Nation that deal with both bringing dignity to retired people and also bringing people back into the workforce.
Any further questions on the right? Those of you who have the lady here.
I don't think so.
Good evening. Thank you for coming. It's great to have you. I'm part of seniors and we're really worried about the cost of living because our pensions went up a whole $4.90, which you might not have paid it. But we need help with the cost of living because the first thing to go is fresh fruit and vegetables because we can't afford it. So what can you do for seniors? Thank you.
Stop getting old.
You can't help it.
The first thing we can do is lighten up, have a bit of humour. So,
Come to seniors.
I'm going to be
You're
one.
very welcome.
I'm going to be one.
Excuse me, if you're over 50, you can come to seniors.
If I'm over 50, I can come to the seniors. I'm over 50. So we do need to look at the contract that the pension represents. It's a contract between the taxpayer and the government. And when tax was sort of first brought in, there was an expectation that the money would be budgeted and held so that when you finished working, there would be a pension. You prepaid a lot of your pension. From memory, it was the Labor government that sold that fund off quite some time ago. We have not kept the value of the pension in line with inflation, and we have also allowed councils to continually increase rates, which pensioners would be more adversely affected because they are not allowed to earn an income beyond certain amounts. So allowing pensioners who can work to work is handy. Allowing people to have tiny homes where they might be able to have an extra house in their larger lots. But being realistic about what the pension is supposed to be. The pension was supposed to be a living wage or a living allowance that you prepaid, and we haven't kept it up with inflation. So we need to revisit the contract that we as the people have with government. But we can't instantly raise the pension because they'll also feed into inflation. There's no simple answer, but we must stop making these simple short-term promises. It has to go back to what was the contract and should we bring that back? If you're paying tax, you're technically paying for a future pension. So let's stop building nuclear submarines and let's stop giving fee-free tapes to everybody and free university. This red and blue government just keep offering you more free shit. Someone has to pay for it, and it's the pensioners.
He's correct. The problem is, you've got a problem, all the pensioners in Australia have got a problem because this government, both sides of the house, are irresponsible in the way they have pushed the cost of living through the roof, and our people can't afford basic costs. they can't afford to educate their children properly, they can't afford food, they can't afford basic transport costs, and the ongoing spiral. The old people can't get cheap electricity to keep their houses cool or warm. It's that bad, and it's there because of political incompetence and disregard for the welfare of our age and our young and the people who are incapacitated in some way. And it's not good enough. It has to be changed, and the only way you're going to change it is to get rid of this uni-party system and get some independence in the parliament. And behaving like this tonight is not the way to understand what's happening and to correct it. You just have to do something.
Okay, what would you do about it? Why should we vote for you?
What would I do?
Yeah, well, I said, what do you do? What are you going to do to fix it?
Simple.
That's
Say it again.
About the self-funded.
That's not too bad if you know people do, yes, thank you.
Yeah. No, I'm not finished. He asked me a question, and I've sat here and listened without getting a microphone, the opportunity to speak, and the discipline here is awful.
We can't hear you, that's why.
Now, the problem, we need to act on reducing our taxes or increasing our taxes on the minerals we're exporting. We need to keep gas back into Australia and not export. At the moment, we're exporting all our natural gas. There is no tax on it. There's no tax on iron ore. There's no tax on these minerals going overseas. Our party's position is that we're going to tax it $15 a tonne for every tonne of iron ore that leaves this country. And it's going to be to pay off the $1 trillion in debt that were amassed by the Labor Party and the Liberal Party. Not just one party. Both have put up $1 trillion debt in the last 8-9 years.
How will that help pensions?
Well, it'll stop.
That's enough for the audience, please,
Now, this system has to be stopped in terms of ripping the country off. We've just employed something like 35,000 public servants in Canberra. And if you think that's good because you live in Queanbeyan, that's not so good for the rest of the country. And it's going to have to be sorted out. And we will sort it out. And there will be a reduction in public servants, and we will use the money to reorganise the nation, its health, its education system. We're going to take over the university system and stop it. And we're going to deal with the whole lot. And this party bullshit is going to stop.
I agree entirely with what Wade has just said. We are one of the most resource-rich countries in the globe, and yet we have got 3.5 million people living in poverty. We have pensioners who are struggling to pay their bills, and it's an atrocity. Those people paid their taxes all their life, and here they are today being swept aside and ignored. It's an absolute atrocity, and we need to be, I think this idea of a $15 a tonne for iron ore to be exported is a great idea. We need to be maximising our returns on our resources, and we need to stop foreign companies being able to come in here, haul our money out of our country and not pay taxes on it. It's ridiculous. It's damaging our own businesses. It's damaging our own country. There's no excuse for this. There's no reason for it. It shouldn't be coming out of the poor people. We have the resources. We need to use them.
Thanks for your question. A couple of brief comments. Obviously got the fuel excise relief, which if you drive will help in the immediate short term. we're bringing medicines down to make them a little bit cheaper. But I'll be really honest, I actually was disappointed. I think we could be doing a lot more for pensioners and older people. I do know that when people speak to me, they really struggle with my aged care. I said to them that's something that I stood on as a platform for pre-selection is aged care and seniors. Something that if I'm elected, I've said that I'll make a priority. But I just don't think that we have done enough. I would say that the whole aged care system, obviously we've had a Royal Commission with a number of recommendations that came out of that. We're still waiting for those recommendations to be implemented. But yeah, I think we need to do more. And as to the question up the back about self-funded retirees, for people that have been lucky enough to do that have worked their backsides off and have accumulated enough money to live on, it's your money and you should keep it.
Thanks, Brenda. Thanks for the question. Yes, pensions need to go up in line with inflation, and unfortunately we have been able to do that. But we have done a number of other things that will help with in-pocket costs. So electricity bill rebates, which we're extending, making sure that concession medicines are $7.70, the cheapest they've been since 2004, and they won't rise again with inflation until 2030, which is incredibly important. About 3/4 of the aged care Royal Commission recommendations have been implemented, and we have 2 budgets ago implemented an additional 24,100 home care package places, which is critically important for an electorate like ours, where we've got a large demographic of older people, and that means that we are able to access aged care packages from home and make sure that they can stay at home independent for as long as possible. So there is more that we could do. There is a concession or a seniors rebate for rates that the state government provides. Unfortunately, that hasn't gone up in about a decade, so that's something I think that the state government will look at as well to make sure that we take another fixed cost down for pensioners.
The Greens have fully costed policies to increase pensions and job seeker by taxing large corporations and billionaires and by ending Northwoods.
I'm really committed to add to what has been said already. There were a number of good things that were commented by everybody up here, so I'll just leave it at that. And you already know the policies that the nation has in terms of retirees. But what I want to do is just shift gears a little bit here and speak more personally from the One Nation policy. And that is, we live so focused on fear and anger. It seems to be driven throughout our society. And when we look to our leaders, the leaders seem to say that, well, the only thing that's important is economics, foreign policy, and things like that. And so, I'll share with you from my personal experience. I own the Liberals Cafe in Monaro. And about this time last year, I started noticing that we were seeing less of the seniors come into the place. And when I started making inquiries about it, it was that they had less and less money to go into a cafe. So I sat down with my team and I said, let's think outside of the box. Let's be part of the community. Let's do something people-oriented and wholesome. What can we do to make it so that pensioners can come to the cafe more often? And we sat down with the chefs and we sat down with the front of house people, and we worked out that we could, that first of all, pensioners ate less than 20-year-olds. So we could have a smaller meal. We could focus on particular cuts of meat and vegetables and things like that, which were more affordable. And so we worked out a menu for seniors at our cafe that cut the price by nearly 50%. And that's still there today. That's in senior food. So all I wanted to say, my only point is that life isn't just about the economics, it isn't just about the politics. It's about us. And the more us that we can get into our civilization, the more everything is going to sort itself out.
Hello everyone. Oh, that's louder. I'm Tracy. I'm from just out of Queanbeyan, and I have met some of the people sitting up here today. My question is to all of you. I am diagnosed as vaccine injured from the COVID vaccine. It nearly took my life. I'd rather the eye roll stop. That was really rude.
Watching the TV.
I am one of the people that was affected, and I'm glad for everybody here if you weren't, but I was. I worked for a CT ambulance. I could no longer work. I could no longer function for 3 of those years. I nearly lost my life. There is a compensation scheme that is not worth what it's written on. You have to be dead. So at the moment I can't work. We may lose our home, but there is still no help. I ask you all, why has the compensation scheme closed, or can you do anything to help? Because it's just become ridiculous.
Simple facts. This COVID system was a breach of the Nuremberg Code. And the Nuremberg Code has 10 articles in it. We breached every single one of those 10 articles. It's a criminal offence. We are going to put Fauci on trial in the United States in the next short period of time. And I hope he gets hanged. It was all a serious problem caused, and millions of our people are dying around the world, and you people think it's a joke.
Ray, can you answer the question?
Can I just add a tiny bit to it? Really? I just wanted to let you know all, I was denied any help from immunology at Canberra Hospital. I was also denied help from rheumatology due to it being a vaccine relation. We had to pay ourselves out of our life savings for me to see private people, and it has killed us. And then I have to share my private life with Queanbeyan.
And the question is about what you can do to help this lady.
It's a serious criminal offence. I wrote to Hunt, I wrote to Hazard, I told them they were in breach of the code, I told them what was happening with these COVID. I told them what they were doing. I wrote to the Human Rights Commissioner, informed them of the breach of the Nuremberg Code and that these people should have been put on trial. And they weren't. And the Human Rights Commissioner told me that he didn't really have Nuremberg now applying to Australia. Oh, I didn't. That's why we hanged the Nazis at Nuremberg and established the Nuremberg Code. Now, this is not a joke. It's not a game. This COVID vaccine was a deliberate destruction of our people, deliberate genocide around the world. It was developed in the Western weapons labs, and I know the labs included. It was then sent by Fauci under gain-of-function research to Wuhan, and it was developed in 1918. It was tested in 1918, and then it was released in 2018, 2019, it was released worldwide, and in 2020, our people started to die. And they put them in hospital, and they treated them with remdesivir, and we killed them in the millions. Now, don't think it's a game. This was deliberate genocide by these globalists, and our politicians were up to it, into it, and they gave the vaccine companies immunity from prosecution, and that's going to stop. And we're going to put them in jail, and we'll come after them very soon.
I agree with Wade, exactly, entirely, and it's been an outrageous event, and our governments have been complicit in it, even though I believe a lot of them haven't. They've been just following the directives that they've been given, but following directives is not good enough. It doesn't cut it. There's so much evidence of harm, so much evidence of people dying, and it's all been covered up and pushed under the table. The amount of people who've been injured is outrageous, and the amount of people who are now suffering from terminal illnesses or chronic illnesses is outrageous. And it was a deliberate, planned thing globally by the globalists, and don't worry, they're coming back to give you more. So you need to wake up to what's going on and push back and never ever let it happen again. And our governments need to step up to the plate. There's DNA contamination. It's a genetic modification of your body, and that's what's happening. And it's proven all over the world. Our government have been advised of it, notified of it by multiple neurologists and specialists in the field, and they've done nothing about it. Albo's been notified time and time again, and he puts his head in the sand. He hides behind the TGA. The TGA are 96% funded by Big Pharma. Now, get that, 96% funded by Big Pharma. What does that tell you? Whose hymn tune are they singing off? Ours? Are they looking after us, or are they looking after Big Pharma? Exactly, that's what's happening. They're looking after Big Pharma who pay their bills. So that's the problem. That is the big problem we have with our governments. They are beholden to big corporations, Big Pharma, globalist dictates, and they can do peripheral things, or we can throw a few bucks here, a few bucks there, we'll do this for you, do for that. When you talk about the structural problems, they can't do anything about it. You're inept.
Can I remind you all, the question is what you can do to help this lady.
I was just going to do that for you. We have a compassionate healthcare system in Australia that's built on the principle that everybody should have equal access to Medicare or medical services. Anybody can walk into a hospital and receive care. Now, there are sometimes delays, and people do get stacked in ambulances and all that. That's just because we've got a pretty big population growth. What can we do for you? Well, first of all, I can express my sorrow and regret at your story. We've lost a medically trained person that our country spent a lot of money training this young lady, and she now can't work. That's the first cost. The second cost is she's a taxpayer, now not paying any tax to contribute to the country. She has a right to know what went wrong with her. I was not a supporter of the vaccine agenda, and I did not take it, nor did my family. And there is no way that I would turn her away from a hospital, because where there's one, there's more. We need to know what went wrong, and I guess Wade's incredibly passionate, as is Fraser. You can't have a one-size-fits-all health pill or injection for a population of such mixed and diverse races as Australia proudly is. We didn't study the efficacy, we didn't do the normal studies, and unfortunately, we're going to have to study you to find out how to fix you.
I have offered many a time.
Right, so she's offering to be a guinea pig. That's good. We have to face up to that we as a country made some poor choices, and we have injured people. Our compassionate medical system cannot turn them away. We need to all remember that and work together, future. Let's not do it again, but let's also not leave anyone behind. I think we need to actually reach out and help.
Thank you, and thanks for your question. And I know that we have spoken, and you were going to send me some information, and I don't have it yet, so please send it to me. It is federal government's responsibility to make sure that we get primary health care right. And I will say, I agree, no person should be turned away when you walk through the door and you're looking for answers when you had something like that happen. I will say that I'm not incredibly knowledgeable about the compensation scheme, but I would be really interested in having that conversation with you to see what's happening and whether or not that's something that we need to reopen or expand or take a different look at. As I said, health is pretty much my number one priority after cost of living, so send me that stuff.
And you're right, there have been a lot of people that have vaccine injuries, and there was a compensation scheme that was open which covered a range of those injuries. And I think we're now finding that some of those injuries are different to what has been expressed as part of that compensation claim. I don't think it's a simple one-size-fits-all approach, and it will come down to a case-by-case basis. It's something I'm happy to look into.
I'm really sorry to hear that you've been vaccinated, and I will do everything I can to help you. It may be a little bit late in the evening to make this connection, though, but when you're in debt to the tune of $900 billion, which is $33,000 for every man, woman, and child in Australia, when you're that deep in debt, you do what your bankers tell you to do. It's just like in a family. If you're really, really up in debt in a family, your mortgage and that, you don't have a lot of room to make your own choices. Your bankers pretty much tell you what to do. And so I'm just going to make the connection, share with you the connection I've made for myself in a number of things, which is the debt is what has us do things that appear to be not in our own interest.
And thank you, everybody. Our time for questions has run out, so I'm going to ask each candidate now, starting with Richard, to give us 3 minutes of a wrap up of what they want to hear about. So I would ask that you leave people in silence, regardless of whether you agree with them or not. That's about respect for the people. You don't agree with them. So Richard, we will start with you.
Thank you. I forgot that this was part of the meeting. So I'm going to do this impromptu. The first thing that came as a start to me this evening was when I went and approached 2 long-term friends, and they told me that I disappointed them. And I said, well, why did I disappoint you? Well, you've gone to One Nation. Terrible hellhole. It was almost similar to an email that I got today saying, I'll never vote for One Nation because they're evil and racist. And I wrote back politely and said, I'm neither evil nor racist. I care about people. And I care about Australia being a welcoming home. It welcomed me 44 years ago. And I hope I've been a good citizen during that time and contributed to it. Just as I know lots of migrants do. I've sponsored 10 or 20 myself in my time as an employer in Australia. And I know that there's nothing wrong with migrants. They're wonderful people. What's wrong is when their visas or whatever their conditions were for coming into the country are broken, and then we just simply have somebody who needs to deal with that broken visa. So, to my friends here this evening, I'm not evil and racist. I love you. I love the people in this room. That's why I'm running. At 72 years old, I probably should be spending more time with my granddaughter. But when I think about my granddaughter, and I project forward the problems of the last 5 years, and this huge debt where we owe a lot of people overseas who have big, strong hearts to tell us what to do, to tell us who to hate and who to like, to tell us how much military we need to crank up on, to tell us who we have to give unconditional, what's the term when you vaccine guys? No penalties. You know, we'll take your stuff and you have no obligation, you have no liabilities. That happens when you're deeply in debt as we are. People tell us what to do. We are captured. And that happens in companies and it happens in families too. And the only way you can get your freedom back and your sovereignty back is to begin to pay down the debt. And the way that you begin to pay down the debt is twofold. One is, just like in a family, you cut out the things that you don't need to be spending money on, and you start saving money where you can. And then you put some of that against the principal of the loan. But you don't keep promising more and more, and you don't keep, and you have to start pushing back on the bankers. Ultimately, we can win that way. So thank you for inviting me here tonight. I appreciate it. I appreciate you. Thank you.
So, as a Green, I'm asking people to vote 1 Greens and 2 Crispy, so that we can send a message to the Labor Party that we need to do more to protect the climate, to protect the environment, and we need better action on climate. There has been some move on renewables, but we can't keep opening new coal and gas fields. We have fully funded policies on housing we have funded policies on renters protection authorities so that renters get proper protection, and we have fully funded policies for free uni and TAFE so that young people can get educated and not have a HECS debt. We have policies to get debt into Medicare. So our policies are available online. You can Google them, as Adam Vance said at the last election. I'm encouraging people to please vote for the Greens in the lower house, for Emma in the lower house to send a message, but also to vote Greens in the upper house so that we can have a balance of power and we can get real action on climate and real action for our environment and real action for our communities. Thank you.
Thanks. I want to congratulate everyone for standing for election. I think everyone's here to represent their community. And I think it all comes down to priorities. Over the last 5 years, my priority has been making sure that a postcode isn't your barrier to opportunity in life. And I think the policies that we have in place make sure that that is the key. I went to one of the lowest socioeconomic high schools in New South Wales, and I was told basically this is your lot in life, don't aspire to anything more. So I've made it my life's goal to make sure that where my kids are growing up, they have the ability to get a good education, build a career and a family, and stay in the place that they grew up in if that's what they want. Free TAFE is critical. We've inherited the largest skills gap on record, and we have to start investing in it. We can't demonise TAFE any longer. My husband is a plumber, my dad was a plumber, everyone in my family went to TAFE, including my mum who retrained in her 50s to work in aged care. We've got to make sure that that continues. We've got to make sure that we are incentivising apprentices to take on our construction trades. We've got to make sure that we're investing in housing. It's a critical shortage. It's not something that just started a couple of years ago. This is decades in the making because we have underinvested as a federal government in housing. So we've got to make sure we're funding enabling infrastructure. We've got to get more rural, regional study hubs. CUC, Country University Centre, started in Cooma with the exact goal of making sure that your postcode wasn't a barrier to going to university. Critically important. We've got to start making sure that we are taking care of each other, and that's why public health is so important to fund. We've got to start bridging the gap on the pipeline of GPs, and we're now bridging that gap with a $668 million investment in the GP workforce. Funding critical infrastructure in communities like Queanbeyan is so important. That Medicare mental health hub means that you don't have to go to Canberra to actually access a doctor, a counsellor or a psychiatrist. It's critically important to us. To make sure that we get the best for our region, you have to have an MP that is prepared to not be hyper-partisan and work with everyone to get outcomes, and that's exactly what I've done over the last 5 years.
Thank you, everyone. I guess from me, what you see is what you get. Hard work, and you are the centre. I have learned a lot in this last 4 months being being a candidate, and one thing that I haven't liked is the politicking. So what you're going to get from me is a solutions-focused, outcomes-based person, a member of parliament that puts you first, because you're the one that has voted to put me here. So you will see outcomes, you will not see spin. I don't do scare campaigns. I treat people as I would like to be treated myself. I would ask you, do you feel better off? The last 3 years for small business, for seniors, for families, has been super tough, and there is not a door that I don't knock on, or a business that I don't go into, or people that are telling me that they wait 9 weeks to see a doctor. It's not good enough, and that's what you're going to see from me, is to get in there and do the hard work. And I'm sorry, that's what we need to be able to get us straight back on track. Thank you very much.
Yeah, look, we're not about window dressing, we're not about peripheral issues, we're about core issues, getting to the core of the problems that this country is facing. And health is a major issue, so we're about not just patching up the health or putting band-aids on it. We're about getting to the core of what the problem is and rectifying that. We want to remove chemicals out of our foods, preservatives, additives, colours, all these chemicals that the regulators allow into our foods. We want to get our health back to natural, good, proper health. Get rid of this chemical toxification of people. Get health in order. Start to use the resources we have in our country to benefit our country. Bring back manufacturing. Allow people to have electricity at reasonable prices. Help the poor. Take from the wealthy. And fill that gap between the rich and the poor. Fill the void and balance it out. Give everyone a good life. And that's what our country should be about. In the 70s, we signed off, Gough Whitlam signed the Lima Agreement, which was to diminish our manufacturing in this country, to support third world countries come up to a level playing field. Third world countries like China and Taiwan and Korea and others. And look what's happened. Yes, we've lost all our manufacturing. There was a time we were losing 80 farms a week in this country, and we've done nothing about it because our two major parties are beholden to these globalist powers, to those who pay the piper, the ones who fund their campaigns, who fund their policies and dictate their policies. That's why you need to have independents or small parties get in there and hold the balance of power to hold these guys to account, because they are being manipulated. Their intentions are good, but they're hamstrung. If they cross the floor, they get put to the backbench. So they just toe the line and do their bit for their little constituency. It's not good enough. The country is going downhill. We need significant change, cultural shift in this country, a whole cultural shift. We were considered one of the most prominent, affluent, successful benchmark countries in the 70s, in the 50s, 60s and 70s for our population. Is that time? Hey? 30 seconds. 30 seconds. Okay, thank you. So look, thank you very much for listening to me, and I hope that some of the things I've said to you resonate, because it's quite real what I'm talking about. We're going into a globalist, dystopian, controlled world, just like China. And it's not our governments who are doing it. They are just beholden to the dictates that they get from the United Nations, World Health Organization, Bilderberg Group, all the rest of them. So, thank you.
My current position is that I'm the World Coordinator General of the My current position is that I'm the Coordinator General of the World Conference of the Christian Churches of God, held that for 30 years. I'm a trained philosopher and theologian. I'm considered an authority on Islam and on Judeo-Christianity. I get reports in from all over the world from my offices daily. I know what's going on. I know exactly what's happening in the Middle East. I know what's happening around the world. I got bad news for us. we are going into World War III in the next 15 to 18 months. We will see, Medvedev said this from Russia last year. He said, what you are doing to us is Revelation 9:18, and a third of the world will die. That's exactly what's going to happen. We will be at war, and we are going into the armed forces with no weapons, ammunition. In 1977, Ray Leroy and I, 1976, 77, Ray Leroy and I told them that we breached the war reserve. We didn't have a 50 caliber ammunition to fight for one day in general operations. We didn't have enough 30 caliber ammunition to fight for a week. You know what they did? They abolished the war reserve. That solved the problem. You haven't got a war reserve, you can't breach it. We went downhill under both sides. Both governments delivered for the last 50 years. And it's outrageous, and it has to be fixed. You've got to do something about it, because if we're not prepared and the Chinese walk in there, you're the ones that are going to be put in the camps and used for body parts and labour. And it's not going to be a joke. And I'm telling you, it's that serious. Now, this whole structure has to be fixed. We've got to fix our debt. We've got to get rid of it. We've got to properly tax our resources, our mineral stuff. We've got to get our tradies working. You do this, right? 30 seconds. 30 seconds. All right, we have to fix our health system. We have to get the people over the range, because the sea levels are going to rise. We have to build the industrial capacity inland. Now let's get on with it. You won't do it with either of these parties. You've got to have independence.
I'm going to go home and write my will. Joanne can do that for me, apparently. But you're a lawyer too, aren't you, Christy? I'm just a humble tradie. I'm just a truck driver. But you know, I was the first bloke in the world to mine Bitcoin in a solar farm. So not bad for a humble tradie truck driver. I can play it dumb and I can play it up. I've done some very interesting things, and I've actually been involved in more than one world first, believe it or not. You need somebody who takes a risk. Somebody that isn't going to be easily lied to by bureaucrats. I've got a very big engineering brain. I've got a lot of friends through all the disciplines. You could put me into Parliament for Eden Monaro, where both the red team and the blue team need our vote. It's not about me, it's about you. What is the price of our vote, Eden Monaro? What are the things we need? We need a sewerage plant. We need a pipe to Bungendore. We need our roads fixed. We need mobile phones, connectivity wherever we go outside of our CBDs. What is your price? And then you put that to the government and the opposition. You have to appreciate how politics works. It's not what I can actually do for you, it's what we do for ourselves. We work together, we're stronger together. You choose a figurehead or you choose an MP and you ask for them to bargain, to barter, to put a price on the vote. And you'll have to vote for some crap, sometimes for the blue, and you'll have to vote for some crap for the red. It's called compromise. Politics is the art of compromise. You need somebody who's going to be able to form a reasoned view, communicate. So don't believe all the news stories that you get fed about me, because there's plenty of them, and most of them are actually not true, especially the late years with my role on council. So I've been elected to the local council. It's very controversial because our council is broken. So we've got to fix local government in all our population centres, and we have to fix our states, and we have to fix our federal electorates. We all have the same priorities, we all have the same needs. So let's do something different, Eden Monaro. You've been red, blue for a century. How about an independent? Somebody that knows up from down and left from right. Let's put an independent into Eden Monaro. You've been a tough crowd, but I've enjoyed coming. Thank you.
That brings to a close our session tonight. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank all our candidates who came and talked to everybody and gave us all something to think about. I'd like to wish you all good luck with the polls. May the best person win. Thank you all. Travel safe home. And don't forget to vote either pre-poll or on the 3rd of May. Good night.
Just quickly, everyone, the person who dropped the license plate BB4 8NG.
Close it off. Wowie.
You're going to drive one.
Thank you to you.
You're welcome.
There's our crowd.